Hey, I'm really glad you're here with me. This has been a long time coming. I've wanted to make a video on personalization because it is one of my favorite, meaning I fall prey to it often, cognitive distortions. Cognitive distortions negatively impact our health and our well being. Personalization, in particular, can lead to feelings of guilt, shame, and low self esteem. It's a giant burden to be dealing with, and oftentimes we don't even realize it's on our shoulders. In this video, I want to discuss more about how to recognize personalization, how it affects us, and most importantly, I want to share with you three proven strategies to help you get out of and to stay out of this mental trap. So, first of all, what is personalization? It's a cognitive distortion, so in other words, a thought process that isn't accurate and oftentimes is irrational. It occurs when we take responsibility for things happening around us that are out of our control, right? We blame ourselves for the things that are happening around us, but we had no real part in causing. For example, say a friend, right, cancels plans with us. We may have automatically assumed, right? Raise your hand if you've done this before. You assume that they canceled because they didn't like us, right? That they're feeling, they're keeping some secret hatred from us of us. But maybe this person struggles with planning. Maybe this person had other commitments that they realized, oh shoot, I've got to go off to this thing. Maybe they're not feeling well and they were feeling crummy enough that they didn't want to explain it, right? I'm super guilty of this myself. I have definitely assumed I knew why people were doing things, and then I launched headlong down down the path of personalization, right? So for example, right, and this is like a fun thing that I've thought a lot about. Say someone with a seemingly sour face looks in your direction, right, and you think that person doesn't like me. I must have done something bad. You may be tempted to think, well, what the heck's that person's problem, right? Why would they treat me like this? So the funny story here, right? I really got a chance to learn about this when I was young. A friend of mine came up to me and asked me why my dad was angry at church. I wasn't sure what he was talking about. He was super convinced that my dad was just really really grumps that day, right? And I was legit confused because I knew what my dad looked like when he was grumpy, right? As all kids do, right? What kid doesn't understand at some point what their parent looks like? Grumpy, right? My dad is awesome, and I love him to pieces. A great person to emulate. I asked my friend more, of like, well, what the heck are you talking about? And he was, as we got into it, he basically was saying, well, the way he was looking as he sat up, on the stand waiting to give a talk, I think, that day at church, right? Give an address to the congregation. My friend was interpreting the way my dad's face appeared as angry, right? Now, what was curious was this was a face that I understood meant my dad was serious, right? This was his, like, I am concentrating on what you are saying because it's a sign of respect, right? So when I see that face, I'm going, wow, my dad is really paying attention to what the person is saying because he wants to be present in the moment of conversation with them, right? I saw this as a sign of great respect in his conversation partner. I do this face myself, right? I'm assuming that I got this face for watching my dad. And, in my opinion, it's not particularly a terrible scowl, but it's precisely the point. What my friend's opinion was based on was interpreting observations, right? The face is this like, right? Kind of like this, like, scrunched brow. And now I get it, right? I've kind of caught myself like, kind of like, when you catch yourself like thinking about what must my face look like right now. I get it. I do the Neil Oller's dad face, right? But the reason why I bring this up is that there's so much subjectivity going on here. How can my friend or me or anyone else know what's going on in someone else's head? We don't have anything to go on here other than a look or otherwise external behavior. And without realizing it, right, again, we've launched ourselves headlong down a storied path of negative backstory for someone who's now like our arch enemy. It's wild to me. It's insane even, right? How quickly this happens. So, what do we do about it? So, I want to share 3 proven cognitive behavioral therapy strategies to improve personalization, right? So the first one, identify and challenge negative thoughts, right? The first step in this is improving, becoming aware of our negative thoughts and challenging them. We can do this by asking ourselves questions such as, is this thought that I'm having based on facts or assumptions? Or you can ask yourself, is there evidence to support this thought? When we challenge our negative thoughts, we can begin to shift our perspective and see situations more objectively. Practice self-compassion, right? This is step number 2. A great strategy, one that probably applies to a host of both personal and external or interactive friction points that come up, is to practice compassion, and in this case, self-compassion. This involves treating ourselves with kindness and understanding rather than harsh self-criticism. So consider this. A dear friend, loved one, right? Your spouse, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your beloved sibling, a parent, right? Someone you care deeply about, comes up expressing the same personalization issues of a situation out of their control. Would you be as quick to agree with this personalization from this loved one as you are with yourself? This is an excellent thought strategy, right? Think about it. You're a good friend, right? I'm your good friend, right? And I come up to you saying, hey, I was supposed to meet with my boss today, but she canceled at the last minute. It's got to be because she's angry with me and she thinks I'm doing a bad job at work, right? You'd probably make some effort to reassure me that while my interpretation could be accurate, right, you may have a backstory. Maybe the boss is cantankerous. Maybe there's bad blood, fine, but there's a bunch of other explanations that are perhaps equally as likely. Remember, challenge negative thoughts. These explanations are probably way more likely. You might go on to reassure me of the good things, right? The positive traits. You'd remind me of the things I've done, the good interactions I've had with the same boss in the past, right? It's important to recognize that we can practice the same level of compassion towards ourselves by acknowledging our feelings, right? How you feel is how you feel, while also reminding ourselves of our positive efforts and traits, like you would for a friend. So, step number 3, focus on what you can control. It's important to remember that there's a lot of things that you can't control. To focus on those is, 1, a waste of effort because you can't control them, and 2, you're also distracting or losing sight of what you can control, right? You may not be able to control other people's actions and reactions, but you can control how you respond to them. If you're like me, uh, you might miss your chance to control how you respond the first time, right? It is tricky. It takes a lot of meditative practice to get to the point where you're going, yes, I have reacted positively and with great self control the first time, all the time. I'm not there yet. It's okay. Maybe you have to control the second time you respond to them, right? Maybe you have to go apologize, do some damage control. I get it. It's a process. Be compassionate on yourself, right? It's a process. Be kind. Be kind to others. Be kind to yourself. You will never be able to control the actions of others. I'm pretty sure we don't want to live in that world where any one of us could could control the action. I mean, who's to say you and I get to decide how other people control their actions, right? But we could find peace in our hearts by considering how we'd act as our best self, right? The self you'd be proud to look back on in this moment. And by following that, right, by trying to be as thoughtful and empathetic and considerate as you feel you want to be, you can be content regardless of the other person's actions and reactions. By focusing on what we can control, we can feel more empowered and less helpless. So, it's so easy to get into this trap, right? As recently as a few days ago, I made a challenge to someone. This is in a work capacity, right? And in my head, right, my backstory was that I had challenged people on a team to have frequent one-on-ones with their direct reports, right? This happened to coincide with the end of quarter, big deliverables, and someone that I challenged in this was going, oh no, this is because like we must have failed at something, and so like we're being punished by being told to do one-on-ones, and the before I understood where this person was coming from, I was going, wow, this person's very resistant to wanting to do one-on-ones. And yet once I understood, wait, you had assumed that I was doing this to, like personally because you had messed up something, when the contrary is true. This person had done an awesome job, right? Had delivered great stuff. It was a curious, I wrote the idea for this video a few days ago and then even saw that happen and go, oh my goodness, this person had personalized what was happening and came to a negative conclusion that this must be because this person had messed up in some way. It was a important reminder to me to look inside myself and to promote with others the recognizing and the training out of personalization. So I challenge you to take 15 minutes and sit with your thoughts, right? Put down your phone, put it in another room with a loud timer, I guess, if you're really worried about your 15 minutes, but sit with your thoughts. How have you been personalizing things lately? Are there things that you assumed were your fault or that people were doing to punish you? Do these thoughts need some reevaluation? As you work to challenge your negative thoughts, be kinder to yourself and to focus on those things in your control and not on the things out of your control. You can find peace in your mind and in your body. You can build mental strength to resist such cognitive distortion snares, right? The traps in the future. You can do this. The human brain is amazing, but what's even more amazing is that we can put effort into changing how our brain works and thinks. You can change. It is the most breathtaking element of the human experience, that you can use your brain to change your brain. I love it. Join with me. Start today.